Hey ladies and gentlemen, Stephen here from Radolescence, and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope that this video finds you well. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 10 of my favorite fragrance discoveries for the year 2020, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin this video and I discuss 10 of my favorite fragrance discoveries for the year 2020, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance content here on YouTube, if you like top 10 lists just like this, but also fragrance reviews, giveaways, unboxings, pretty much anything having to do with fragrances, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. I would really appreciate it so much. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell icon, and make sure to click enable all notifications. This way, whenever I do put out these videos, they will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. Now, I do want to clarify that the fragrances in this list are fragrances that came out prior to the year 2020, or else they wouldn't be much of a discovery. I mean, if the fragrance came out in 2020 and then I'm at Macy's the very next day, then it's not much of a discovery. So I think the term in and of itself sort of connotes finding something that has been around for a while. And so you might notice that one of these fragrances came out in 2019. I think one of them came out back in like 2006. It's like 14 years old. But in any case, I do want to focus on 10 fragrances that I discovered in this year, and these are just 10 of many. I think it goes without saying that I smell hundreds of fragrances, if not thousands of fragrances every year, either through full bottle acquisitions or samples or whatever. So if you do want me to do a part 2 to this video, or if you want me to do a designer counterpart to this video, just let me know, leave a comment down below. I always take your feedback and your recommendations, and I would be more than happy to shoot such a video because I don't have anything else to do, right? So let's go ahead and kick off this list, and I'm just going to jump right into it. If you are interested in sampling or picking up any of these fragrances, I'm going to be leaving links for them down below, so definitely check them out. If any of these fragrances sound appealing to you, if you like the note breakdown or the way that I describe it or whatever. So the first fragrance that I want to talk about, I think came out a couple of years ago, and this one by the company BDK Parfums is called Wood Jasmine. Here's the name on the side here. So Wood Jasmine by BDK Parfums. Now, despite the name of it, because you think of wood, you think of maybe cedar or sandalwood, jasmine, of course, is a floral ingredient. In this fragrance, I'm getting mostly plum, vanilla, and labdanum. So this is a very sort of sweet and gourmand resinous perfume with a little bit of plum in there. So it gives it that unconventional fruity aroma that I think is really good. And so if you're a fan of fragrances like Andy Warhol by Bond No. 9 or Plum Japonais by Tom Ford, you know, the private blend, I think you'll really enjoy this one. But this one is much stickier, much more resinous, much more viscous in its olfactory texture, if you will. Very good fragrance. I'm really enjoying this one, but now's the time to wear it. So I've kind of been holding off on it, but I am going to be wearing it a lot this winter. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is very sentimental for me. This one you can actually find at Perfumology. I'm going to be leaving links down below once more. And I purchased this one back in January or February. I don't quite remember. It's been a long time now. But I went down to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is where Perfumology is located, and I was visiting the proprietor of that boutique. His name is Noir Guy, fantastic guy. And I ended up purchasing this one because I knew this one came out late last year, if I'm remembering correctly. And there was a little bit of hype around it, but it fell flat a little bit because I think there are some other stars within this perfumer's catalog, if you will, that get spoken about a lot more often than this one does. But this one is L'air des Alpes Suisses by Tower Perfumes. And so, of course, the perfumer for this is Andy Tower. And this one is this fern and green sort of a fragrance, but it has like this mentholated quality in the opening that really does remind you of standing at the top of a mountain and you're breathing in that chill, you know, brisky air. And it's a really cool concept, you know, behind this fragrance. And what I like most about this is every single time that I wear it, it reminds me of making that trip to Philadelphia with my wife and my daughter. And so, you know, a lot of these I latch onto for the sentimental value that they bring. And I'm sure, you know, you watching my channel, you probably had similar experiences as well. The next one that I want to talk about is another one that came out pretty recently, but not in the year 2020. And I'm pretty good at keeping up with this company, especially when I used to make my frequent trips into New York, which I can no longer do for a number of reasons, COVID being at the top of the list. But this one by the company Frappant is called If. Now it says If by RK. Of course, If is the name of a poem by Rudyard Kipling, who is a famous author, and the creative director for the brand, David Frossard, actually did a video with him. So I'm going to leave a card up here, and I interviewed him, and he was very open, and he was, really excited to discuss certain topics on the channel. And he actually took a trip from the north of India to the south of India. And whenever he reads this poem, which I think there's some sort of a connection with his grandfather, it's very poignant for him, but this one smells awesome. So it is a fig-based perfume with a little bit of cinnamon drizzled on top, and then you have a base of creamy sandalwood and roasted tonka beans. Now, if that doesn't sound amazing, I think you should definitely check this one out. This one actually reminds me a lot of a fragrance by Edward Bess called Spanish Veil, which was composed by Benaim. But in any case, this one is totally different. I think the perfumer for this is Anne-Sophie Behegel. So it's a little different, but nevertheless, it's a fantastic fragrance. Anyway, let me move a little quicker now. So this fragrance is by the company Arabesque, the next one on this list, and it's called Baccarat. All right, despite the name, no connection to Baccarat Rouge 540. This one is a citron and rhubarb kind of a fragrance. So the rhubarb adds like this subtle nuance of strawberry, if you will. But in the base, you also have like this mossy, musky, and animalic quality. So it's a little green. It has this fresh sort of designer appeal without being a designer fragrance, right? So it doesn't smell like a typical designer fragrance, but it's mass appealing in the way a designer fragrance would be. This is really easy to wear. You can tell that the ingredients being used are rather sophisticated, but you have to be a fan of those sort of musky perfumes without it necessarily smelling overly animalic. There's no like civet or castoreum or anything like that in here, but there is ambergris if I remember correctly. The next one is by the company Royal Crown, and okay, there are a few fragrances by this brand that I did discover in the past few years, and I think one of them was Oud Jasmine, which I reviewed on my channel with Joe from the channel Joe sent me, but this one I've never smelled prior to this year, and this one is called Upper Class, and this is an ambery leather perfume. And so you have this really smooth leather. There is a fruity texture in the opening, but it's more about that warm amber accord that you get in the base that really sweetens up the leather and makes it stand apart from other leather-based iterations on the market. Really, really good fragrance. The next one is by Inike Perfumes, and it's called Daring Do. So the name Daring Do means an act of courage or an act of bravery, if you will. And this one is a little bit floral. I think it has cyclamen, if I'm remembering correctly, but it also has this green and masculine quality about it, and it's really smooth. It's a great sort of office type of a fragrance, and it comes across smelling rather valiant, as the name implies, but I really enjoyed this one for its flexibility, and I think it's a very versatile fragrance, one that I could wear whatever time of the year it happens to be, whatever the occasion happens to be, but also the quality of ingredients in here I perceive to be way above average. And so I'm personally loving this one. I know there's another fragrance done by the perfumer. It's called Field Notes from Paris, if I'm not mistaken. That one I've smelled as well, and it is quite excellent. And so I'm very excited to have this in my possession. Really great perfume. So the next fragrance that I want to talk about is by Testament London, and this one is called Sang Noir. Now, this one I think came out 2019, and so just recently. So again, not a 2020 release, but this one is a boozy fragrance. I get mostly booze and patchouli, and that sort of rum, whiskey, liquor, cognac accord that you have in the opening, compounded with this very earthy, rugged, and masculine patchouli. Definitely a daring perfume. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit on the masculine side, but certainly something to be worn in the colder weather, definitely check out Sang Noir by Testament London. So now we have finally made it to the top 3 fragrances on this list, and these are some of my favorite acquisitions and favorite discoveries of the year 2020, and we're just going to start it off with the number 3. And this one is this bright, citrusy, inviting, refreshing, invigorating citrus and mint combination. And so you think of lemons and tangerine, mandarin orange, bergamot, petitgrain, neroli, but then you also have this accent of mint that adds this really bright, mentholated, and refreshing quality. And this one by the company Royal Crown is called Celebration. And I think this one was inspired by the Italian countryside, and it utilizes a lot of natural ingredients. And I have spoken to the perfumer Antonio Visconti, and he has told me the story of the brand and, you know, all of the things that have sort of captured his attention and influenced him and inspired him and provoked him to create this perfume and all of the other fragrances in the range. But Celebration is definitely one of my favorites, and I know I even mentioned it in the number 1 spot on my summer list, along with Oceania by Rouge Parfums, another fantastic fragrance that I can't get enough of. Speaking of Rouge Parfums, that's actually a fragrance that comes in the number 2 spot, not Oceania, because I think this one was released this year, right? But it is Parfum de la Nuit 2. The best way for me to describe this one is coconut and rum. If you are a fan of this spicy, boozy rum note, and you like spices and you like that sort of lactonic, fleshy, sweet, slightly fruity aroma that coconut brings to the table, but then you also like these warm, sweet resins with the vanilla and the labdanum, the styrax, and a touch of an animalic, you know, base, I think you'll really enjoy Parfum de la Nuit 2. It's such an incredible fragrance by Rouge Parfums, and I am so happy that I have had the opportunity to, at the very least, discover it this year. I know I don't own a bottle, but I definitely plan on acquiring this one, despite the fact that it's a little bit on the pricier side. But after smelling it, it completely justifies the price, because for me, I would absolutely pay that amount, especially knowing that there's a certain level of uniqueness that is brought forth on account of you owning a fragrance as opulent and as luxurious as a Rouge Parfum. But with that being said, we're getting into the number 1 spot, and this is one of my favorite perfume discoveries of 2020. Again, this fragrance did not come out in 2020, thus making it one of my favorite discoveries of 2020. But I know I've mentioned this in previous lists, and I did a standalone review on it, and I know I expressed my passion and enthusiasm for it, and it has all of my favorite notes. You know, I'm a gourmand person. This fragrance is very gourmand leaning, and so of course you have this cherry dominant opening, you have this warm vanilla and resinous thing going on in the base, a slight touch of tobacco in there as well. This one by the company BDK Parfum is called Rouge Smoking. So we have the 2 bookends. We have Wood Jasmine, and then we have Rouge Smoking. But the thing that I love about Rouge Smoking is that it's so warm and inviting and delectable. And I have seen some conversations about it on Facebook, and it seems like a lot of people seem to agree. For me, I get hints of Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. I get hints of Rehab by Initio Parfum, or Spice Bomb by Victor and Rolf, with touch of cherry in the opening that really just sets it apart. It makes it such a unique fragrance, and I also want to dispel this myth that it's a woman's perfume, despite the fact that according to the brand, it's marketed for women. And when you read the narrative of the perfume, it sounds like it could be feminine. And I know when you go on websites, even for Grantica, if I'm not mistaken, they label it or classify it as a women's perfume. It is 100% unisex, because I'm letting you know. It has nuances of Tobacco Vanille, which is unisex. It has nuances of Spice Bomb, which is masculine. So I don't see how a unisex and a masculine fragrance combined could create a feminine fragrance. So just don't pay any mind, don't pay any attention to what is being said online. Completely unisex, and I love wearing it, and I get a lot of positive attention when I wear it as well. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. These have been 10 of my favorite perfume discoveries for the year 2020, and of course, all of these fragrances were released prior to 2020. I would also like to hear from you guys. What are some fragrances that you guys have discovered in 2020 that perhaps came out in years prior that you just happen to really be enjoying in 2020? Leave your comments down below. I always love the interaction. Of course, if you're new to this channel once more and you took something of value from this video, I would love it if you could support this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.